Good morning, everybody. This is Zach Sennett again, and I'm honored to be in a two-part live session in my home with legendary artist Jack Jarata Taylor. Thank you for joining me again, Jack.
I appreciate it.
I'm honored to have you in my home, and we've spent a great time. If you listened to the first part of this podcast, you heard about some of the great art that Jack, or Jarata as he is better known, has completed throughout his lifelong career. But now we're going to talk about a lady that's very special to both of us. Somebody I have admired from afar all my life, but somebody that Mr. Taylor has known personally, and that is the legendary blues musician, Miss Bonnie Raitt. Now, my family and I had the opportunity to see Bonnie live in Charlotte, for which we paid a lot of money, but as Jack tells it, Bonnie's been a lot closer in her life. You want to talk about how you first encountered the legendary Miss Bonnie Raitt?
What most people don't realize, back in everything got banned for a while about music performances and all. During the so-called hippie days.
Yep, late 60s, early 70s.
Right, and but in the process, a man named Manley, whose son is still in Cedar Grove, built a concert arena right outside of Cedar Grove on the Camp Road.
Manley, did you say is his name?
Medley, Medley.
Midney.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I became a part of that. It was had venues at Saigs. I don't know how many people, and he would have concerts and all. Mm-hmm. And he ventured out from the basic country concert into a more jazzy blues at one time. And he had apparently got agent Bonnie Raitt, and she was coming out to be on stage. I was a lucky one. I was just wandering around doing nothing but being on the back of the stage meeting people and all. And she came in, her bus and all, and she came in and got on from the back of the stage right by me, and I thought, oh man, what a nice looking lady. And I really didn't quite catch that she was Bonnie Raitt for a moment. So I just started talking to her like everybody else would talk to the best friend and all. And we had an acquaintanceship going on there. She was an extremely nice person, talking back. And she said, well, I got to start tuning my guitar or something like that. And I didn't realize who she was. So I got nervous because I was a presence of greatness.
And you didn't realize you were talking to Bonnie Raitt.
Exactly.
Do you remember any of the exchange between the two of you?
I remember she said something about a guitar, and she said she was the voice of the guitar or something in that range. And I was thought, boy, she sings so good, her voice is so perfect. My voice is just... I've always been ashamed of my voice. Even though I wanted to be better than it was. Absolutely. You just do what you got to do. So
I can't carry a tune in a bucket, and I've always wanted to be able to sing. My wife sings beautifully, and my daughter, I think, is going to have her voice because she can already carry a tune and has a beautiful quality to her voice. But not me. I've just been an admirer of those who can, and Bonnie Raitt, 73 years old and still sings as good as she ever did.
Yeah. And a lot of musicians loses it. I was listening to Blondie.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Blondie.
Debbie Harry. Mm-hmm.
And her voice is really, it's still got the basic sounds, but the strength, the volume is way down now. You almost have a strain to listen to it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of musicians sings this over there.
Yeah.
Elvis Presley, who I met also
Right.
years ago, he had a voice that he maintained until the very end.
Until he died,
And a
yes.
few greatness in it. This includes Bonnie Raitt's voice is always the same.
Yep, Bonnie Raitt sounded as good as she ever did, and the fact that you met her, the fact that she was in Sugar Grove is unbelievable.
Yeah, she kind of went out of the way to come back and talk to me. I reckon because I wasn't in awe, with her. And
Yeah.
she was just, like there's another friend.
Yeah. And as I recall, when you first told me you met Bonnie Raitt, you said I just wanted to run away with her, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit.
Her voice and speaking day to day, talking
Was
was
beautiful.
beautiful too. And
Yes.
I was just such a marvel, and I felt kind of special at the time. She took time to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of meant I wanted to run away with her.
Yes, indeed. Because there are millions like yours truly that would love to have been in your shoes at that time. In 1976, Miss Raitt also played in Galax at a big festival called Stompin' 76. Do you remember
Yeah.
anything about that?
I was going and my car broke down.
Oh.
So I didn't get to see her.
Yeah.
And I sat beside the road for an hour or so before anybody actually stopped. I didn't have a phone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Back then you didn't have cell phones anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't know what to think when they live in a world without cell phones and you actually had to look for a payphone.
Yeah.
But supposedly in 1976, when Bonnie was there, she ate at a motel/restaurant called the Downtowner Motel. It's now the Roadway Inn, and I'd like to go in there. I wonder if anybody knows what room she stayed in, But every time I go by there, I say to my wife, "There's the Bonnie Motel."
I saw you got photographs of her. And,
Do they in there?
I've been in there and I saw some photographs.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to go in there and take a look. That'd make a good story. I've done a couple of interviews with Hal Davidson. He was the man who promoted Stompin' 76. He put the whole thing on. And he told me that there was there was some sort of an altercation. He wasn't sure what happened. He was in another part of the restaurant, but she was about 27 years old at the time, and she'd ordered some fish, and she wasn't happy with something the waitress said, so she threw that plate of fish bones at the waitress. And then all the artists were being piloted in on helicopter, and she didn't want to go on the helicopter, so there were pagan motorcyclists there, and she asked one of the motorcycle guys, she said, "Can I hitch a ride with you? I don't want to ride in a helicopter. Can I hitch a ride with you?" So she strapped her guitar on her back, got on the back of that motorcycle, and rode that motorcycle in.
Wow. I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, that was a couple of stories that he told me about Bonnie. And of course, she was the highlight of the show. John Prine, who, she performed his Angel from Montgomery so flawlessly. He was on the lineup too.
And I have a friend, Annie Robinette, who's a real good friend. That's one of her basic songs she sings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife sings that one very well too. If anybody sings it as good as Bonnie or better, it would be her. Although my wife is her lower register. She's an alto, and her lower register is what melts you. And Bonnie is a mezzo soprano, so she's higher than my wife. But both.
I've seen an interview with Lady Gaga one time, and she went through the stages. She could go every stage of the voice, from high to low.
Yeah.
And that was it just amazes me because, like I said, I always wanted to be a singer. So,
Me too.
but
Couldn't do it. My hero of all time is Phil Collins. Now, did you ever meet Phil?
No, I went to one of his concerts one time. But I never met him.
Great performer, isn't he?
Yeah, really. And, he's very down to earth, kind of is the way he comes across.
Yes.
When I saw him.
My daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, her favorite band is the same as mine, Genesis, and we went last November, paid an unspeakable amount of money to see Genesis, and Phil is debilitated now, and he's confined to a chair, but he still sings. And he sounds as good as he always did, but he can't play or anything anymore, because he was such a great musician and could play all those instruments, particularly the drums. His son plays drums now for it, but
I knew he wasn't, on the route or anything.
Right. But as we were talking, on the last episode, you met. Billy Joel and Elvis Presley. Who are some of the other great artists you met that you were most impressed with?
I was behind stage with Michael Jackson also. And that was because the very first lead-in band was, I was acquainted to the agent to Michael Walden, who was a writer for some of the R&B songs and all. So he invited me behind stage, and I got behind stage, and
Jarata Michael Walden?
Yeah.
Okay, he wrote some for Whitney Houston also.
Yeah.
He
was a prolific writer.
Right.
And just the nicest person you ever seen. But this agent was a friend of mine, so he got me behind stage and took me to interview. I met the Brothers Johnson.
Great group. Strawberry Letter 23 is one of my mother's favorite songs.
And Patti LaBelle.
Patti LaBelle.
And her. And
what was she like?
She was really nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. And Chaka Khan, which I admired so much.
Oh, yes.
But she wasn't quite friendly.
Chaka wasn't very friendly, huh?
So, I was in her dressing room. They took me in her dressing room, and I thought, boy, how lucky can a guy get?
Right.
But she was, something was going on, and I didn't know what it was, and she was not very happy about it.
Yeah.
And she had to be on the stage within a few minutes, but it was a Michael Jackson, and I went back and saw the second concert of Michael Jackson's, was invited behind stage too. And I didn't realize you get credentials where you can come and go. And I made a mistake the time to go out into the audience to see it in front of the stage. I was mobbed because I was coming from back of the stage. So they had security had to protect me and turn me around and put me back. So I went out the back of the stage and hid my credentials. I had to have, tell who I was and all.
Right.
But an interesting period of time.
And as I recall, you said Michael Jackson was kind of an odd person.
Really, and you could tell he didn't seem to be over the earth at the time.
Yeah.
That's before he went through so many scenes as anyway.
When
you grow up in the industry and all, that's what you become a part of that industry, so you lose your human spirit almost.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right. And did you ever meet Whitney Houston?
No, I never did. I've been 2 times. I was at the concert where she was at. So
Oh, and what was that like to hear her perform?
the voice is fantastic.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it would be amplified. She just had so much strength in the voice.
Yeah, there's a new movie coming out about her life here in a few weeks, and I hope to have an opportunity to see it. But when I was born in 1985, and back when MTV actually was music television, I was in front of the TV watching the videos every day of Phil Collins and Tina Turner and Whitney Houston. And you and I were at the same Tina Turner concert in 1997 in Charlotte.
Right, I was, maybe I touched some people, and that just blew me away.
Yep.
She was like non-stop. I don't know, people's got so much energy because now I'm having a rest all the time.
Yeah.
I guess I have a lot in my career because I kept on doing all kinds of things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I just admire people who's got energy. It's trueness to themselves about how they get out and do things. They know where they are in life, in other words.
Right. And to think at that time that you and I saw her, we didn't know each other, but we were in the same venue. And that was my very first concert, and that was 25 years ago, and I'll never forget it.
I was right up against to front row, I believe.
Oh, how extraordinary. But you never met Tina.
No. I wanted to, and I made my way
to the front.
She was over on the side, talking to people. And it was such a mob, I just said, heck with this.
Right. Yeah, well, that would be an extraordinary thing. Believe me, I was in, not on the floor seats, but with the handicap seats, I was up on a riser behind the floor seats. And I can remember it was a ramp, and of course I was wheelchair bound, and I remember that it was flat all the way, and I thought, I wonder how far I could make it up that ramp before somebody would catch me and send me backward. Because I remember she had on that silver Versace dress.
Yeah. And because I thought, her presence was just wonderful.
Yeah. And like you said, when she got to Proud Mary, you could see the music moving through the people.
Yeah, Proud Mary was my favorite of all time, and it was like you could feel a wave. Everybody, I reckon, could identify with that.
Yeah, and to be able to witness performers like Tina and Phil and Genesis and Bonnie Raitt, some of the best shows I've ever seen, and I don't think they are to be beaten.
I saw Leon Russell. I was behind stage with Leon Russell doing one of his concerts. And it was amazing me because he's playing a piano.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about 25 foot from him. Behind him, as the people could see me from the audience and all. But I was watching him, and he had his band going, and he had a timer right on the piano. To the piano, and he was timing every song and everything. It amazed me how precise he was.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought, just out in the audience, this guy's just carefree and he's going in it, but he was playing, timing everything. So he had it right down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, it was not. So none of it was spontaneous. It was.
Right.
It was very to the second. Of all the performers that you've seen, can you pinpoint anything that was the best you've seen?
Well, it's several things probably, but one was Elvis Presley.
Mm-hmm, I'm sure.
And how he related to the audience. And he would sing and come up to the audience and reach out and shake hands and almost get put in the audience and everything. and he not miss a beat on his good song and all. That impressed me quite a bit when I saw him.
Because he was the biggest star in the world, but yet he was just like you and me, just a good old Southern boy.
He was a humble person in essence, and you wouldn't know it, but you could tell it by the way he didn't want to, I reckon, he wanted to be part of it, always happy, with his bass and everything.
He appreciated his fans.
Right.
Yeah. And he still has them to this day. Elvis is as big today, 45 years after his death, as he was
exactly
in his life.
But you had to see him. In my lifetime, I saw Ted Kennedy once.
Uh-huh.
He was in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever, one of the premier arenas. And Elvis. And, but that's the two that come to mind. When they spoke, it was like it wasn't speaking within themselves. The sound was all around. It was like cellular around your head and everything. You couldn't actually pinpoint where the voice came from, but it was so strong it penetrated your hearing and everything.
So you got that same feeling when you heard Senator Ted Kennedy speak?
Yeah. And I was amazed because, it was like thunder going off. You don't know where it's coming from, but you can hear it. So it was that strong voice.
To me, as a journalist, it's very tragic, but to me as a journalist, the most exciting time to have been a newspaper reporter would have been during that presidential assassination.
Yeah.
Because if you were the first one to get that story, like Bob Jackson, somebody else got Ruby holding the gun up, and then in a split second, Bob Jackson got the gun pointed that way and got it fired at Oswald. He ended up with the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
And the guy that had it up like this was 1 second off of winning that Pulitzer Prize. So that's how fast you had to be in with it and in with the story.
Yeah, it's spontaneous the way you react sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like when I met people, met musicians and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I had a member of the Outlaws band came to my house one day. He had a big snake around his neck and all.
Who was that now?
The band group was called Outlaws. But I can't remember the names of them. He came to my house one day.
Oh my goodness.
Because I met him on the road and told him where I lived. So he showed up at my house one day with a snake.
Oh my goodness.
But he wanted to see my paintings. So.
Wow.
And then I had a guy from off Broadway who was an actor. He's an older guy. I'm old now, but I thought he was real old. He walked across the field behind my house to visit me all the time. He wouldn't come to my front door. He'd walk in my back door.
And who was that?
I can't remember his name, but he was he was a Broadway actor. He was
came to visit you in Sugar Grove.
Yeah, he came several times. And, he had married a woman from, I believe it was from Atkins. So that's when he came back down. But he got acquainted with me, and he kept coming and visiting me every time he came in. And he played, one of his performances was Don Quixote.
Oh.
So he was the man of La Mancha.
Oh, yeah.
And he inspired me to do a whole bunch of paintings of Don Quixote.
I've seen Man of La Mancha at Barter Theater. That's the only reason I know of it.
I saw the original first performance in Philadelphia many years ago. I loved it. So
that's exciting. That's exciting. Any new plans for your art or career? Or are you just taking it as it comes?
I'm trying to get more international than I have been. I got new work. I I'm working on a new style. I guess you evolve. Artists has got to evolve all the time.
Right.
So my evolution is in a new type of painting. I have some physical defects, which is all cause me to alter my ability to paint in a certain way. So I have to reinvent my art, so to speak. So that's I'm going to get that on the market and try to get that going.
Mm-hmm.
And like I mentioned to you about my history and everything,
Sure.
try to get that out. People knows who I really am.
And I'm honored to take on the project of your autobiography, and I hope we can really make that come to fruition soon.
Most people, I've been the most lucky person on earth to be a creative person because I got involved in so many different processes. Met so many different people, even the President of the United States one time.
Which president was that?
Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford, okay.
I met him out on the steps of the Capitol and was able to talk to him just one-to-one. What's the odds, you know?
Yeah, what was that experience like?
It was amazing. He reminded me of a good friend. And
so he was a nice guy.
he was extremely nice too.
Good.
Because the Secret Service had got everybody away and just left me by myself. And he came right down to me and asked me, who was I? You know, why did they not take me away from him? Because he was going from point A to point B and was getting in a limo.
Right.
And I was about 100 foot from the limo and he was coming down by me. And I have no idea why he didn't remove me. It's just
right.
the knuckle is raw, I reckon.
Must have sensed the type of person that you were and knew that you were not a threat.
Must be, but I want to take photographs, but if I reach in my saucer, I'm gone.
Right.
Because they will react, you know.
Right.
I was just happy to talk to them.
To say you've been, sure.
We just talk about weather and stuff like that. It was a nice day. Glad you're here. I said, I remember saying, I'm just a tourist. And, you know, I was nervous and everything because I knew who he was.
Sure.
And but I couldn't figure out why he left me alone. So
right.
I thought, you know, I'm watching all the other people and seeing him too. So
right.
I didn't want to be a victim of some incidental casing or something.
Sure.
But I was okay after alone. Was able to resume going. From that point on, I went to the Smithsonian and some of the other institutions around. But I had that in the back of my memory and thought, boy, I wish somebody photographed me. Nobody ever believed me.
Sure. Well, Jack, as always, it's an honor to talk with you. I thank you for taking the time.
Too.
I thank you for taking the time to do this. I'd like to say this will not equate at all with any of the honors that you've had in your career, I'm sure. But every year I choose out of people that I've interviewed throughout the year, and I give them the Strictly Observing Person of the Year, and then at the end of the decade, I go back and do each Person of the Year throughout the decade of the most fascinating people I've interviewed, and I would like for you, very much like for you, to be the Person of the Year for 2022.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. That is an honor. I mean, anytime anybody recognizes me and wants to bestow upon me any kind of award or anything, I am super honored because I come from a small mountain background and I'm not big-headed at all like some people get. So.
Yep. You certainly are not, and that's why you are deserving of all the honors that come your way, because you are an extreme talent. Your talent has
One other thing, if we got.
Oh, sure. We have all the time you need.
I've been contacted. You talk about honors.
Mm-hmm.
I've been contacted by the company I do shoe designs with in Italy. Shoe designer. I have about 34 different designs. And last one they contacted me and said that I was the Mercedes-Benz shoe designer.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of thought, boy, that was a nice honor too.
Yeah.
But nothing to your honor is great because it's from the heart. So I would say it.
Thank you very much. As you said, we are two young mountain Southwest Virginia boys, and I, your art is very. You've given so much to people with your art in the community, and I think you deserve to have appreciation locally as well as globally. So, hope that I can have a small part in that. Well, thank you for being with me, Jack, and thank you all for listening. Tune in next week.